Good morning to you. Thank you so much for watching Morning at NTV. I know that some people slept with heartbreaks and others woke up with heartbreaks. But today, Stephen Imbido Mfefe is going to be speaking heart-related diseases with medical experts here in Uganda Heart Institute in Mulago. You can see I'm standing in front of these machines. They can be teasing, but I'll be speaking to Dr. Jocelyn Rebembera. She's an adult cardiologist here in Uganda Heart Institute to let me know about the diseases. You've been having that chat about the strike. We're not going through that discussion. I know yesterday was the International Labour Day. We are here to celebrate you, the people who are on the front line of saving our lives away from God. Good morning to you, Doctor. Good morning, Stephen. We are here at the Uganda Heart Institute. How bad is the situation of cardiovascular diseases out there?
Thank you. Cardiovascular diseases, which in basic language is diseases of the heart and the blood vessels, they are a big problem world over. And then increasing burden in low and middle income countries, among which Uganda is. But we'll break them down because it's a whole big bucket. And under them you'll have various diseases. We have those that someone can be born with, which we call congenital diseases, and those that are picked up in the course of life, which we call acquired diseases. And I think we'll focus for today on the acquired diseases. And there are a number, but we'll break them down basically diseases that can affect the heart directly, and then the diseases that can affect the blood vessels.
Name some of those ones.
So for the heart, top on the list is going to be high blood pressure. Then we have diseases that can affect the blood vessels of the heart, causing blockage in the blood vessels of the heart, and that is typically what we call heart attacks. But someone can have a blockage in the blood vessel and it goes on progressive, and this heart is suffering, although they are not getting a typical heart attack. We have diseases that can affect the muscle of the heart, which we call cardiomyopathies. There are diseases that affect the valves within the heart, okay? So because we know our heart has those valves that open to allow blood to flow in one direction and not to backflow. And so there are diseases like rheumatic heart disease that will damage those valves so that they either leak or there is a blockage. And ultimately, all these diseases, the end, you know, that the end of the road for them typically is what we call heart failure. Like at the end of the day, this heart fails to work. And then talking about the diseases that affect the blood vessels, the most common is going to be stroke, where a blood vessel in the brain will either get blocked or it will, you know, like burst and someone will bleed within their brain. So stroke is a big problem. And then the other spectrum of the blood vessels is typically the blood vessels in our lower limbs or the legs, where that blood vessel can also get blocked, and so there is no flow to that part of the body. So in terms of the burden, each of these diseases is a huge problem, even in Uganda. Uganda Heart Institute has done a lot of work, plus, you know, other teams in the heart fraternity to quantify the burden. We typically know, for example, for hypertension, that about 25% of adults in Uganda have high blood pressure. That means 1 out of every 4 adults have high blood pressure. Other diseases that we've quantified very well, like rheumatic heart disease, that is a disease more in the younger children, where we know that about 2 to 3% of Ugandan children actually have that disease. And meaning if you don't address this, give them 5, 10, 15 years, that is a population that will present in their 20s or early 30s with complications, you know, typically heart failure and other things.
Let's speak about this machine here. How many operations do you do, like in a day, and how bad is the situation here, those who report here?
So first of all, to talk about the machine, the equipment. So where we are today is called a cardiac catheterization laboratory. So this is an advanced theater where we do procedures on the heart and on the blood vessels, but without opening the body. And what that addresses problems like heart attacks, problems like blocked valves, problems like when people have very slow heart rates and you need to put in a pacemaker, you know, to increase the speed of the heart. So this is what you're seeing. So that is the actual machine, and then the screens that we, to guide us.
So this monitor display the inner parts of the
Yes, you'll be able to see the pictures there. So basically, this is guided by X-rays, so that even without opening, you can be able to see exactly where you are, which part of the blood vessel, which part of the heart, because that is very important for safety. So you asked about the number of procedures. On a day, we'll do, between 5 to 8 procedures.
Isn't that too little compared to the burden out there?
It's not too little. These procedures are not 30-minute procedures. So for each procedure, you need to have a good amount of time. So if you take maybe 2 to 3 hours for each procedure, and for 5 procedures, that is a whole working day that is spent. And then that is a Monday to Friday, and then it also works round the clock for emergency presentations. People presenting with heart attacks, we say that time is muscle. You know that within 30 minutes, not later than 1 hour, this patient needs to be on this table, and you need to have opened up that so that you can reestablish blood flow. So that is how this operates and the amount of procedures that we do. However, this particular cath lab and this particular machine, which is actually, we procured this in 2012, so it's been operating
more than 10 years?
Yeah, 10 to 11 years now. It is a state-of-the-art machine, actually only one of 4 machines in Africa that have this particular generation. And so it is supposed to have a shelf life of 10 years.
2012, that doesn't mean that it's past this lifespan, right?
Yeah, by a few months. That doesn't mean it is going to suddenly shut down. Of course, we've been doing the periodic required services, and then, of course, any timely attention to any problems that come up. But, of course, with any equipment, just like our cars and all other equipment, as a machine ages, it means you're going to have more frequent breakdowns, and then getting it fixed will cost more.
Dr. Revembera, when you talk about this machine breaking down, I picture a situation when you're doing a procedure here, and then the machine breaks down. This is so putting the lives of people, the patients here, at risk.
Yeah, so actually that is not the case, and we wouldn't allow ourselves and the institute and the nation to get to that point whereby you can't start a procedure when you're not sure. Of course, any machine can break down any time, even when you've just bought it, okay? But at least with a periodic servicing, with the right technicians and biomedical engineers, we have the assurance that, okay, this can be able to take us some time. But of course, what this is telling us, if it is supposed to have a shelf life of 10 years, and these 10 years have passed, it is telling us that we need a new cath lab.
Exactly, don't be sweet, because we have to send out a message, because if this machine has gone past its lifespan, more than 10 years, I think this is the time that maybe you at the Heart Institute should make a call to the government, maybe development partners, maybe try to do something before it completely breaks down and there is no more procedures you can operate here.
Exactly. Thank you, Stephen. So thank you for facing that up front, but also very happy to let you know that this is in process. So we didn't just wait for the 10 years to elapse and then we start to think, oh, the lifespan of this machine has actually elapsed. So right from about 7, 8 years, the Institute has embarked on securing a new machine. Okay, and that is in process, and we hope that we can be able to secure it and install it before we get this one totally failing. That is only one of the challenges that we are facing, but it is still doing the necessary work. All
right, Dr. Jocelyn Revembera, apart from this machine that is going past its lifespan, what other challenges maybe you encounter as the Institute in trying to save the lives of Ugandans and other people?
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Of course, it's a myriad of challenges, and ranging from, the first thing is the overwhelming numbers of patients who are always going to be, who are disproportionate to the number of health workers. So the basic things we talk about, the health workforce, okay? You look at the number of specialists compared to the burden of the problem that we are talking about, like we are still just a drop in the ocean for the magnitude of all the health problems that we've talked about, the cardiovascular diseases in the country. So there's that overwhelming amount of work work. And of course, we also know that the fact that the institute is only centrally located, although we make a lot of effort to do outreaches to the regional referral hospitals, we know it is only very few Ugandans who are going to be able to travel up to this point. So even for those who reach us, we know that they are also just a drop in the ocean compared to the number of patients in the country. So there's a need to decentralize the services. There's a need to train many more specialized health workers. And of course, the working space, okay? Many times we find that, we are full, we are over 100% full to capacity, meaning the space is not enough. And of course, there's need for, more equipment. We are saying we need one extra cath lab. But hello, if we had, 3 cath labs would actually be able to do all those procedures. As you are saying, one cath lab running 5 to 8 procedures a day, that is still very low for the burden of the disease that's out there. So more equipment, more space, more healthcare worker training, and decentralization of the services.
Doctors, the reason as to why I was asking you that question is that because last week we saw Ugandans, those who are on Twitter, we are talking about Uganda Health Exhibition, and I'm looking at supporting how can we, Ugandans, because you do a really good job for trying to save the lives of many people. I was looking at what else needs to be done to make sure that the lives of the people who are at the front line, you are so pivotal during the times of COVID. What else can be done to make sure that we have a better health environment, but also for the medical professions, in your view?
So a number of things that should be done, not can be done, but should be done. The first key thing is protection of the healthcare workers. As we do all this work, are we having enough protective gear? We know, across Uganda, there's a lot of improvising by the workforce. You're like, this patient is here, this procedure has to be done, but there are, a number of things may not be fully in place. Thank you very much. So the last word is that cardiovascular diseases are a big problem in the country, and what we really recommend is frequent screening. Don't wait to be sick. Go there, have your blood pressure checked at least once a year, or at least every 6 months. Have your blood sugar checked. Watch your weight. Do regular exercise. Those very basics can keep many of these cardiovascular diseases at bay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jocelyn Rebembera, an adult cardiologist.
Thank you.
Sorry?
Adult cardiologist.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Remembeda. This is Stephen Imbide on Fefeso Echibuga. I have now to hand you back to Priscilla Regina, because I know there are some birthday messages that have to go out to the public, and whoever is celebrating those birthdays, we say happy birthday.
Thank you. Bide, and we'll wish the very best to your colleague there, and also to the sector by and large as we